The D500 has been on the market for months now. I did a full review of the camera last year. Now it's time to talk more about it, now that I've gotten some seat time with it, so to speak. Let's call this Snapchic's D500 Updated Review. I'll share some old photos and videos I've taken with the D500 and a brand new set of fun snow photos. And then VIP members and Zion level patrons on my new Patreon page, you will be able to see more photos from that shoot and a behind the scenes video from the snow. So make sure that you follow the link in the description below so that you can see your exclusive content after you're done watching this video. Before I begin, let's go over some of the videos that I've done about the D500 and some of the photos that I've taken with the D500. I did my initial review, a body tour, a menu overview. I also have shared a whole slew of portrait shoots and landscape photos, plus a bunch of other random things. I have a playlist at the link above where you can see a bunch of those photos and videos. So now that I have gotten all of those photos and videos, you might be wondering how it's been going with me and my D500. We've been busy together, out in the sunshine, the rain, and even the snow. A few times in the snow, actually, including this most recent portrait shoot. We've used everything from these older prime lenses to some of the latest and greatest Nikon zooms. My initial review of the D500 was a bit more clinical than this one will be. When you do what I do, there's pressure to get a review up right away when a camera finally hits the streets. My reviews usually come a few weeks after initial release because I don't believe in reviewing a camera just based on the specs or some initial usage. I need to use the camera in a handful of environments, and I need to know that it works the same after thousands of exposures as it did on the first few. And I always like to follow up with you all after the newness wears off. Okay, so the question of the hour is, how has it been going with me and the D500? My initial impression and my ongoing impression of the D500 is that it is fantastically responsive. Let's call that, I don't know, semi-tangible criteria. By responsiveness, I do mean frame rate, but more importantly, I mean how quickly the camera responds to my touch of a button and how quickly it autofocuses. You can never tell a camera's overall responsiveness from a spec sheet or a product announcement. You need to get it into your hands and hit it hard in a variety of circumstances, see how those specifications all work together, and most importantly, make sure that it delivers every time. The D500 does. While the flagship D1 through D5 series cameras have always been responsiveness leaders for their generations, when you get to the more compact DSLRs, responsiveness can be a mixed bag. For me, for the way I use cameras, slower action and handling is okay for something like this, but if it's a camera that's advertised as a do-it-all solution, it needs to truly do just that. I can say that the D500 delivers in this department. You compose and shoot, and the camera is done and ready for the next shot. No iffy autofocus in nearly any lighting situation. No lagging anything. I have the full ability to shoot even in low light with confidence. From getting focus to low noise images, all at ISO settings that are traditionally a mess on many other cameras. I've seen plenty of great specs about low noise, high ISO, but the most important thing to keep in mind is that if the camera cannot autofocus in those low light situations, the camera is going to slow down and struggle to get the shot. When you get it, it's clean, but you might have missed the perfect moment. Bummer. Not so with the D500 though. You'll get focus quickly, get the shot, and you can admire the low noise in low light later on at your computer. I have been consistently impressed with the low light focusing of the D500. One of the reasons that this is so important to me is that I am often in unfavorable conditions when I'm shooting. Most recently, I've been shooting a lot of freezing cold sunrises as the photographer, but also the model. And let me tell you, as both, I'm highly interested in getting the shot without a lot of fiddling around. So for me, in my most important category, general responsiveness, the D500 soars over the bar. Now let's talk about other good stuff, like image quality. My D810 is my image quality champ. phenomenal resolution. It's the Nikon camera that people like to get when pixels and overall image clarity count above all else. Here's the thing though. I hit my cameras hard in all sorts of situations. The D810 delivers, no doubt about it, but let me tell you a secret. FX is nice, but the D500 delivers virtually the same image quality. The pixel count is a little lower and noise creeps in a little more quickly at higher ISO settings, but the difference is splitting hairs. If you are going to split hairs and it's going to bother you, the D810 is over the top. But if you want great landscapes 1 minute, a high frames per second count the next minute, with autofocus performance to match, the D500 is really a no compromise solution. I have to confess that my D810, my beloved D810, has gotten a lot less action since the D500 waltzed into the studio. Hi, welcome. Don't get me wrong, like I said, I love my D810. I think I was just surprised at how close the two cameras really are in so many ways that matter. Now let's talk about menus and handling. If you speak Nikon, you speak the D500's language. The buttons are all arranged very close to the layout of the D800, D810, D300S, and a number of the other more expensive, more responsive Nikon DSLRs. Some people were surprised that the D750 didn't share this same configuration. It's the layout that I am most comfortable with, so I was glad to see it on the D500. That being said, this ISO button did move from here to over here. At first, it was a pain in the butt for me to adapt to that change. Now, I'm fully used to it, and I wish I could get my D810 reconfigured to work exactly the same way, not because I prefer one configuration over the other, but because I like for my cameras to have the same control scheme. The menus are what you would expect, and with video, and 4K video becoming a larger part of the conversation with DSLRs, you've got more options than ever when it comes to shooting video. I don't shoot a lot of 4K, but I sure like having the flexibility to do it with the D500 when I want to. Now for my complaints about the D500. It's minor stuff. I think everyone is still trying to figure out what an XQD card is and why we need it.
You come in here for asking for some fancy XQD card? I don't even know what the hell that is.
You've got one SD slot and one XQD slot. It's not a deal breaker. At worst, it's a bit of confusion and a small bit of expense. I am surprised that it doesn't have a pop-up flash, but that's not a deal breaker either. There are plenty of camera options for those who do want the pop-up, and plenty of much, much better external flash options. I'm grasping at things to complain about though. The camera just does its job extremely well. It's DX, which turns some people off, but I've got an FX body right here with the D810, and I just don't see how the DX sensor on the D500 is hurting me. It's a slightly different approach to lenses between the two sensor sizes, and if you need the increased flexibility of FX lenses on an FX camera, you've got the D750, the D810, the D5, and some older generation FX cameras that can be had for bargain prices on the used market. I'd mention the D610, but let's save my D610 responsiveness discussion, or lack of responsiveness discussion, for another time. Oh, and here's one complaint that's actually a good problem to have. With the default settings for continuous shooting in continuous high, the camera is just too darn fast for me. I often end up with 2 photos when I mean to take one. Again, that's a good problem to have. If you're in continuous high and you're using a relaxed shutter motion, you'll get 2 or more shots. Otherwise, you've got to be quick on and quick off that shutter release, or just use continuous low. Again, that's like the best problem in the world to have. And it's the very definition of responsiveness. There you have it. I'm closing in on a year with this camera body, and it still feels new and fresh and responsive. I'd buy it again without hesitation. And if I had to choose between this D500 and my D810, we'll have to save that discussion for another time. For now, I've shared some photos that I've taken with the D500 in this video, including some new portraits of me in the snow. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, you can follow the links in the description below to see more photos and behind the scenes video of me running around in the snow and talking about it, if you aren't a patron or a VIP, you can still follow either of those links to find out more about supporting my mission as Snapchick. What's next for my D500? I'm finishing up the detailed menu walkthrough videos, and I'll add those to the D500 playlist when they're done. And I'm including a special video for my patrons and VIPs. And that special video is called My Personal D500 Menu and Body Settings. In that video, I show you exactly how I've put together my hand-picked settings into a configuration for the D500 that is ready for many different types of shooting at a moment's notice. Plus, I've got adventures and photo shoot ideas that I will definitely be putting this guy to good use for. Do you have a D500, or are you considering one? Have you had a good experience or a bad experience with it? Let me know in the comments below.